Hi, and welcome to the Beer Temple. I am Chris Quinn, and well, look who we have here.
Look what the cat dragged in.
Yes, back after a hiatus. Went back to the East Coast, abandoned me and Max, if you will.
I did.
Some would say, I would say.
Yep.
I did say. But
I came back.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here. And it's
Wait, I'm your lovely wife.
Yes, you're my lovely wife, Margaret Quinn.
Thank you.
Yes. Someone gets a little testy when she's not formally introduced.
Lovely.
So, it's going to be a fun show. Don't be discouraged by the bottles you see sitting before you. I'm interested, I'm interested to get to the end of this. Not necessarily why you think, because I want to, so the idea here is blind tasting. I don't know which beer is which. Margaret does know. So I will be tasting these beers. And really the reason behind it was we wanted to do something like this for a while, and it kind of manifested itself a little bit over your trip back east. And I'm sure it's happened to everybody. You're out maybe in an unfamiliar place or out with friends, and you're just at a bar where they don't have really any craft options. What beer do you choose? Is there a difference? Does it not matter?
And this is a real world example for me because, like you said, I just got back from visiting family. You know, when you're out with friends or family who may not be into beer, may not care about craft beer maybe as much as you do, which could be a healthy thing actually. But you know, you're out at a normal bar, and this happened. You know, I was in instances where I was like, okay, Corona's the best thing on the menu, or a Heineken is the best thing. So that actually did happen to me a couple times, which kind of gave us the idea for this show.
Yeah, and we've already done kind of the macro beer thing. The American macro beer, so we figured we'd keep it to imports only, and just kind of see what was out there. So here are the four beers. This one I'll start here because it might be a little confusing. This is Beck's, but they've got like a limited like artist label thing. It's funny, it says, "Don't forget you're here forever." I think that's a reference to a Simpsons episode.
It's creepy. Yeah, is that the one where Homer is working at the power plant?
He wants to work at the bowling alley and fill his lifelong dream of being like a pin jockey or something.
Yeah.
But then Marge gets pregnant with Maggie and he has to come back.
Right.
So there's a placard for all people who have left and come back that says, "Don't forget you're here forever." And then he like puts pictures of Maggie over it that says, "You're doing it for her."
Right.
So I think unless that's a reference already, so then, you know, my references are confused. But that's the only place I've ever seen it.
Good job on your reference there.
Beck's German beer. The only one that technically technically is not an import. For those of you who may not know, this beer, the American Beck's in America, is brewed in St. Louis now. They were acquired by Anheuser-Busch InBev, and they moved production to St. Louis. And in fact, if you look at the 6-packs and the 12-packs, where it used to say imported from Germany, now it says German quality.
Imported from St. Louis is what it says.
Yes, well, it says right on here, product of the U.S.
Yeah, so you know they're being very honest. And also, side note for those who may hear a strange rumbling in the background, Max is
snoring.
Logs. Yeah, Max is snoring big time today. Yeah. So if you hear that, that's what that is.
That's fine. They're used to it by now, I would guess.
That's true.
So next to that is kind of the original InBev beer, Stella Artois from Leuven, Belgium, or Leuven, Belgium. Belgium, I should say.
Yeah, Belgium.
Yeah. Very, very popular beer now in America. Certainly kind of had a meteoric rise in popularity. Prior to that, it was seen as one of the premium import brands in the UK for a long time. It really kind of, they took their UK model of success and applied it to the US. I mean, it is popular, but it's not especially popular in Belgium. It's not the #1 domestic beer in Belgium. That's Jupiler, which is also owned by InBev. A lot of these companies have taken on this company's model of just acquiring every local brewery you possibly can. Heineken is notorious for just taking any potential domestic rival and just buying them. So InBev.
Yeah.
Grupo Modelo, who makes Corona, recently purchased by InBev. They had a non-controlling 50% share, and then they bought the other 50% earlier this year. So Yeah, Corona, the #1 import in America.
Yeah. Which is hard to believe almost, you know, like, well, it's hard to believe and not hard to believe.
No shirt, no shoes, no problem.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's songs written about beer in Mexico and things like that, so I guess it's not that hard to believe. But you know, the fact that you just don't think of like Mexico as like a big powerhouse, you know, brewing nation,
right.
But it really is.
#1 in the American market in terms of imports.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then #2 in the market for domestic, for U.S. imported beer is Heineken from Amsterdam, Holland, originally from Amsterdam. I think that they might still be headquartered in Amsterdam, but they moved their brewery outside of that. You know, I think the iconic green bottled beer, although not the first. Oh, no, that's not true. Beck's is the first German beer in a green bottle.
Yeah, and it's funny, on their website they actually brag about how they've the first German beer to export or to bottle their beer in
Who, Beck's?
Yeah, in the protected in the green bottle. You know, they were also the first ones to export in the steel you know, kegs, I guess.
Oh, really?
So, you know, on the flip side, they were actually doing something really good, and they, you know, they wanted to preserve the flavor, but on the on the other side, why are you bragging about the green bottle?
Right. So, I mean, this was, I think, to a lot of people back in maybe even the 70s or 80s, the first kind of green bottle beer that they can think of, and that's why people think of import when they think green bottle, and why a lot of beers now, imports are in green bottles. I mean, there's really very, very few domestic beers that are in green bottles. Very few.
Yeah.
But Heineken, big brewery. They are not owned by InBev. They are their own brewery. They're their own kind of mega #3 in the world behind Miller and InBev. And yeah, all these beers except for Beck's, I'm assuming is all malt because it should hold up to the Reinheitsgebot, which says no adjuncts. But the other 3 certainly do use adjuncts. So these are, you know, mass-produced international style lagers. They're going to be light. All of these are going to be very susceptible to skunking.
Yeah.
I very often say skunking is light struck. So when beer is exposed to sunlight or even fluorescent light, it can get a skunky smell to it. It comes from the, there's hop compounds or a molecule in the hop compounds in the beer that interacts with the light, and there's a molecular change, a chemical change, and it actually makes a skunky aroma. It's not from going hot to cold, hot to cold. People say that, oh, you're going to skunk your beer. No, it is strictly light. You can damage your beer by, you know, severe changes in temperature, but it's not going to skunk your beer. That is only from light, and the actual term is light struck.
And I have to say, I don't think I'm doing any spoilers here, because you can, I mean, you have a nose, you can smell as well as I can right now. Yeah, as I was opening these beers in the kitchen, each one was like, whoa, you know, like as soon as you open the beer, you know, you smell it.
So that is why, if you are going to drink these beers, I would definitely recommend that you get a closed 12-pack of these so the light doesn't get in, or out of a can, which is even better. But we're doing this experiment as you're going to a bar. You're not going to be drinking these beers out of a can at a bar almost anytime, except that maybe if you're at like the ballpark or something like that.
Like a tiki bar or a beach bar, yeah.
So you're going to be getting them this way. It's just I got them as they were, and we'll taste them as they are. So I mean, that's, I think, the most realistic, rather than saying, well, you know, if you get a can of Corona, which they do make, but nobody drinks them out of, you know. So anyway, we'll get going. I'm going to set these aside so you can see, you know, these beers, and then I'll bring them back at the end.
In all their beauty.
Yeah, and I'll just start from my left to right, your right to left.
I don't even remember which ones they are anymore, so.
Well, you just can't tell from the distinctive difference in color. They all are completely still. They all look like apple juice, basically.
That's true.
All right, let's hold it. And it's lighter than apple juice.
Urine. We're in urine territory here.
Yeah, urine town. So even swirling it, absolutely no head. A lot of times there's just really not a lot of malt or stuff to help with head retention. And I know that some of these beers, particularly Corona, people have said that they have additives. I think it's like a seaweed additive or something to help with head retention in there.
Seaweed?
It's like an extract, like derived from some sort of plant matter.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah, so anyway, very clear. You're talking very, like a straw color. Light straw, a little bit of gold, maybe. Completely still, and completely clear. There are some bubbles coming up, but no head.
Yeah, very clear beer. Ah, the skunk aroma.
Yeah, there is some skunking. In fact, my nose, I'm quickly gonna it's gonna get blown out, my skunkiness detector. So in a way, it's kind of good, I guess.
Like a Pepe Le Pew up in here to really get the fine notes.
There's definitely the skunky, almost like cabbagey, light struck character to it. It actually, to me, more than a skunk, smells like skunk cabbage. You know that skunk cabbage?
Yeah, definitely.
That's what skunk beer smells like more than actual skunk.
Yeah, I think you're right. Or like overcooked cabbage or something like that. Yeah.
You do get a tiny hint of a honeyed flavor and a tiny hint of cardboard. This beer seems to be a little old. I don't know. But very clean overall. Okay. Very light. The predominant flavor I get is a little bit like a cardboard, but even that is light. A little bit of like a honeyed note as well. I mean, in terms of biscuity, anything like that, it's pretty much absent. It's a dry beer. It finishes very, very dry and not bitter at all. A lot of these macros aren't supposed to be very bitter. A lot of these mass appeal beers, they don't want them bitter because people don't like bitter beers. But if you're not going to have a bitter beer, you can't have a sweet beer either. So these beers are highly attenuated, meaning the sugars have been fermented out to be not bitter and still drinkable.
Right.
So,
any guesses on what fine beer you're drinking today?
I'll make a guess and then I might change them as I try others.
Well, I was gonna say, do you want to like line up, what's what, like put the thing in front after you finish tasting?
Sure. I mean, I'll make a guess from the beginning.
That way you can just keep track of what you think is what.
I mean, this beer is, as a beer overall, it's a D. It's not a good beer. Maybe a D plus. As an American or as an international lager, something like that, maybe I'd put it a little higher. This beer is I don't know, 79, something like that.
Right.
I mean, it's not really defective other than it's old. I'll guess. I'll go here, I guess, to start.
I think that's the best. All right.
All right.
Moving on.
Yeah, now I'll go to New Belgium. This is their beer. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right.
I don't even want to put that on there to make them. Again, this beer...
I think it's a little darker than the first, maybe?
Yeah, it might be a little... Yeah, it is a little darker for
more
sure.
Golden, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little darker. It's also got a tiny bit more head retention. Actually, it's got quite a bit more. You're not going to get a fluff, pillowy head here. Okay, it smells like beer.
Oh, well, that's a step in the right direction.
It is not skunked. Is it skunked?
No, I mean, it smells like beer.
Yeah, it smells like a very clean beer. No hop. No hop. It smells like almost nothing.
Right.
It smells like almost nothing. Maybe a hint of sweet malt. A hint of it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's tough. It smells like, what I always pictured beer smelled like as a kid. Like, not really sure that I want to drink this type thing. Just not much.
A little bit of like a husky grain.
No redeeming qualities, really.
Creamier mouthfeel.
Okay.
Oh, the carbonation is nice. It gives it a little bit of a lively note to it on the tongue. Very easy drinking. not bad.
All right.
You know, if this was a 79, this would be like a 84. You know, it's very, 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 very light. There's not a lot of flavor there, but it's crisp. It's got a nice mouthfeel to it, actually. It's a little bit fuller mouthfeel-wise. And it's not skunked or oxidized or anything like that. No, not necessarily whatever beer this is fault, but
right.
I think even the underlying beer here is definitely a better beer.
All right.
I'm gonna go Stella for this.
Okay.
Okay. And you know what? I'm gonna go like this, I think.
Really? Game time decision here.
Yeah, I was just gonna. I mean, I'm gonna have to assume that the skunky one, until I get one that's more skunky, is this. Because a clear bottle protects it 0.
Right.
Even this protects it like 10% or 5%.
Right.
Clear bottles are just like the worst. A different exception being MG Miller Genuine Draft and Miller High Life. They use a special proprietary hop extract that does not interact with light and does not skunk.
Technology bringing you a better beer.
Yeah.
Interesting thing, since you did put the Corona there and you think that's the Corona, you know, you hear a lot of stories about the lime with the Corona. Obviously, we didn't serve the Corona with the lime today like you would normally probably see it in a bar. But, you know, they say that that's one of the reasons why they serve the lime is to kind of cut down on that skunkiness or cut the skunkiness. There's all kinds of urban legends sort of on why they serve the lime with the Corona.
It makes as much sense as anything else.
Yeah, just to kind of, you know, almost hide the flavor of the beer, sadly.
Yeah, kind of like how, like, you hear they used to use a lot of those, like, curries and stuff like that to cover up the rotting stench of meat in, like, India and stuff, or wherever they used it.
I don't know if it was rotting stench. I was like, maybe it's meat that's turned a little bit, and you just flavor it.
Has a minor rotting stench to it.
like a Corona.
Okay, so we're on, this one's a darker as well. It's almost, I think maybe even a little darker than this one. Also not skunky. This one actually has a little bit of a malt flavor to it. It might have some hops as well.
All right, I gotta smell this.
Tiny hint of like a dried herb, like a dried thyme or oregano, or not quite as spicy as oregano, but just a dried generic herb that you would get in like a Italian mix pack or something, aka not like the freshest herbs from your farmer.
Right. Yeah, it's not a bad smelling beer. I definitely get that herbaceousness that you're talking about.
Not skunked.
Yeah. Maybe the green bottle is
Yeah. Not skunked, not oxidized. You know. And this one I am going to go back and forth. I know I should, you know what, I'll taste it in a bubble, I'll rate it, and then I'm going to go back and forth. So.
Yeah. Just kind of think about it a little bit.
Hint of paperiness to it. Not bad again. I'm going to go 83 with this one. Serviceable. Serviceable. You need a beer badly. I mean, I guess. You know. Yeah, it's fine. I'm not really going to hold that oxidation against it too much. I'm just trying to taste the underlying beer. These remind me pretty similar of each other. You know, very light again. It's got a little bit of a hop flavor to it as well, but really no bitterness hardly at all. A little bit of like a grainy and papery quality. I'm going to go with the Beck's for that one. Now let's look at this. These all look so darn similar. Looks like each one's getting a little darker to me, but...
Yeah, I think that is a little darker. I have to agree.
Yeah. This one is a little darker, so I think they've actually been getting darker every single time, right?
I don't know about that. Yeah. This one seems pretty light to me.
Yeah. A little bit of, you know, carbonation bubbling to the top. Just like a couple wisps of just collective bubbles clinging for their lives on the surface there.
Right.
Agitate it, see if anything comes up. Not really a whole heck of a lot. A little bit darker golden here, but still, you know, you're getting like the straw colored still. Excuse me.
For not having much carbon, not much head, you certainly are being affected by it.
This one's definitely sweeter. This one's got a little bit of like a grainy, maybe a corny flavor to it. Nose to it. Again, a hint of oxidation. No hops. Yeah, like a grainy, you know, corn.
Max is on the move. What you think?
I think that one's the sweetest.
Okay. You seem like you're really,
I'm trying to pull stuff out. Max
is not a Bears fan.
Yeah, Max hates the Bears.
Max hates the Bears. He hates when the neighbors cheer for the Bears. He's an Eagles fan all the way, folks.
Yeah.
All right, go sit down, bud.
So it's got a fuller mouthfeel. It's a little bit sweeter. Again, it's lighter. You know, I'll give this guy an 84 as well.
Okay.
You know, it's just got a little bit less bite and thus feels a little sweeter than the others. You know, I don't necessarily think this one's Heineken. So let me go like this.
So play your little musical beers there.
This one is
and
this.
See kind of
now that I've had that, boom.
So you're saying the green may actually offer some protection?
Maybe, or maybe that one's just been sitting around. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm guessing Corona probably isn't flying off the shelf in late September, but who knows? Well, it's the #1 imported beer in the country. You know, one thing about these beers too I wanted to mention is I think that they do actually probably have a nice versatility with food. You know, because they're so light and so kind of quaffable, I could see these going with like Thai food or something like that. You know, something that has quite a bit of spice where you can just drink the beer in large quantities. You know, tacos, something like that. You know, where you can just wash down a few beers with the meal. Bears must have done something really good. Perhaps one.
Man, I haven't had a Stella in so long. I haven't had a Heineken in such a long time.
This is like a shell game for you. You ready?
Yeah, so...
All right.
Let me figure out which one is my favorite.
All right, yeah. Favorite and least favorite.
Least favorite.
All right, least favorite.
My belly's getting full. It must. The carbonation must be in there somewhere, because.
All right. Decisions.
These two are pretty similar. It's down to this one or this one. This one's got a little bit more of that Euro flavor that you think a little bit more bitterness maybe. And when I drank it, I said there's no bitterness. But when you go back and taste it against others, there actually is a hint of bitterness. This one had some hops in it. Boy, oh boy. And this one's a little bit sweeter. I'll go with this one as my favorite. This is my least favorite.
All right.
So let's see. What's this one? Can I do it or do you want?
Yeah, do it.
Corona.
So you got that correct. That your least favorite is the Corona.
So light, so skunky. If you have a bottle of Corona, it will be skunky. Well, unless it's a closed case or something.
Right. Well, that's why you're going back to the lime idea. You know, I think the lime actually just covers up the taste of the beer. Sad to say.
Yeah. This one. So I was the most sure about this one.
Yeah.
This one, I'm the second most sure about, but it's a pretty big drop off.
Okay.
So let's see if I'm right. No, this is the Beck's.
Wow.
This was the Beck's. Okay. This one had the most bitterness to it.
And like so this was your favorite, correct?
This was my favorite.
All right.
It was the Beck's.
Wow.
Which I'm glad that the all malt one was my favorite. Very light beer, geez. But those guys in St. Louis can brew.
Yeah. They know what they're doing. Imagine that.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, next. Well then, then I think it might be this.
So you don't get to do that. You gotta stand by your choices a little bit here.
Okay, fine.
You don't.
But now
now it's
this.
a 50-50. Well, what do I think this is?
True. No, but this was right. I'm glad I didn't go back.
That's the Stella. Okay, yeah, you're right.
Even though I really did change it, so I technically did change my mind. Stella, that was the one that was really had the most kind of, what do we say, like grainy, smelled like beer. You said very bland.
Yeah.
And then the sweet one was Heineken.
Wow, interesting. See, now I would have thought. Yeah, it does smell sweet. I would have thought that the Beck's, just the nature of it being, all grain or whatever. I would have thought that would be sweeter.
This beer might be oxidized, and I was thinking, and this is the second show and like 3 times where I've been thinking something might be oxidized and I don't say it until afterwards. I should just come out and say like, this one also might be a little oxidized, but it doesn't have that paper. It has more that honeyed oxidation. I'm looking at the bottled date, or it's a Best By or a bottled date. I hope it's a bottled date, and that makes me think it was bottled in January, but that's so long, that doesn't seem possible for it to be sitting around for that long.
Right.
Anyway.
There you have it.
There you have it, guys. The Beck's, I would say, is the one to go for, to ask. But, aside from that, Stella, Heineken, if they were fine. But the one that did taste the most like a beer, had a little bit of bitterness to it, was the Beck's. Corona, I think, was by far the worst. The skunkiness just added to it, but there's really very little there going on at all.
Well, good to know.
Yeah, good to know, guys. Really what you should do is, you know what? I wanted to have a zombie dust, and I wanted to pull it out and be like, just do that. Because I have one in my fridge, and that's what I will be drinking. Yeah, so the other thing is we were able to get single bottles of this. We have a whole 6-pack of this stuff sitting around now because we had to buy it for the show.
Bring it to a party or something.
Yeah, for people I don't like.
Right.
So if you see me bringing a 6-pack of Stella to your party, or a 5-pack that is, you know that I don't like you. There you go, guys. Football awaits. So I am going to go. Thanks as always for watching. One cool little note: we were the iTunes podcast episode of the day. Yes. Two days ago.
Friday.
2 days ago on Friday. So that was really fun. That was kind of cool to get a shout out from the overseers at Apple.
Right, yeah, Cupertino.
They deemed us worthy.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, so you know how it works, guys. Keep the comments and the reviews and the ratings coming. Always appreciate that stuff. I'll have some shout outs coming. I owe you guys a couple. And good to have you back.
Yeah, thanks. Good to be back.
Yep. So until next time, I'm going to... I've got some nice all malt beer to drink. Hopefully you have something a little better.